This series of videos is all about helping someone who is used to a beginner method of solving the Rubik's Cube to move to an intermediate method. The first step in solving the cube is to make the white cross without having to make the daisy first. Most videos about the white cross encourage you to make the cross upside down. This can be off-putting for beginners, so I'm going to show you how I make the white cross facing up. The first step is to inspect the cube with the white center facing up and identify where all the four edge pieces are. So we've one here, we've one here, we've one here, and we've one here. None underneath this time. Once I've decided where the first edge piece is going to be, then I rotate the cube so that the place where the green edge is going to be is facing me. You can choose any color you want, but stick with it every time so that you will always remember the order of your colors. On my cube, with the green edge facing me, the red is to the right, the orange to my left, and the blue is opposite. So for this example, if I decide I'm going to start with the red first, then I will position the red here. So my green will go here, orange in here, and blue here. Once I've got the cube rotated the way I want it during the inspection process, I will then not have to rotate this upper layer at all, just these bottom layers. This means that I can ignore the center colors and just realign them at the very end after my cross is completed and I flip the cube over for F2L. So now that I've decided where the first white edge is going and I have the cube facing the direction I want, the next step is to plan the moves required to place the other three white edges into position. My goal is to do this in as few moves as possible. So instead of putting each edge into position independently of the others, I will try to use the movement of one edge to get another edge closer to its slot. You will see how this plays out when I show you some sample solves. As a general rule, I will identify any white edges that are not visible, those on the bottom with the white facing down, and deal with them early on in the solve. This is because they are harder to keep track of, and you waste time lifting up the cube to find them. In the beginning, you may only be able to plan for 2 or 3 edges in advance, but with practice and repetition, you should be able to plan all 4. A good way to practice is to plan all your moves in your head, then execute all the moves in your plan with your eyes closed and see if it all works out. Before I show you some sample solves, you need to be aware of good edges and bad edges. The good edges are those in the middle layer and those in the bottom layer. For example, with the white facing down, that's a good edge, because they only require one move to get into position, or maybe 2. If this one had to go over here, for example, you would do one move to get it to there and another move to get it into position. Similarly, a middle layer can go in one move, or if that had to go over here, 1, 2 moves. Bad edges can take 2 or 3 moves to insert. For example, if this edge has to go here, we can do it in 2 that way, or over here in 2. But if it had to go here, we would have to go 1, 2, 3. To get this edge up here, we would have to go 1, 2, 3. Here are some examples of how the good and bad edges can interact with each other. You can move a bad edge in the bottom layer into the same face as a good edge before putting the good edge into its slot. This turns the bad edge into a good edge. For example, I could solve that slot, but then I'm left with this bad edge. However, if before I solve that slot, I move the bad edge onto the same face, then when I bring up this slot, the other one, the bad one, is now good, and in this case, can go straight into its other slot. If it had to go over here, it's now 2 moves away instead of 3 moves away. In this example, you can move a bad edge that's flipped onto the same face as a good edge before putting the good edge into its slot. This places the bad edge into the bottom layer facing down, making it a good edge. So instead of bringing that up on its own, I move the flipped edge, move that into position, and then this now becomes a good edge that can be inserted in 2 moves. In this example, I want to get this good edge into the slot. I can go straight up. However, with this bad edge, if I stop halfway, I can move that bad edge into a slot and then continue to bring up the other edge. In this example, I'm going to move this correctly placed piece out of the way temporarily to get my bad edge into place. So that takes 3 moves. If I had done it independently, I would have gone 1, 2, 3, 4. Another one to look out for is that by turning 2 bad edges together, you can make them both good. They may go easily into their slot or be moved into another slot. By the same token, turning a face with 2 good edges can make one of them bad. So you may want to move that one first before putting the other one into position. So here's a sample case. I have a flipped green edge here. I have my orange, I have my blue, and I have a red at the very bottom. So keeping with my principle of getting the bottom ones up early, my first one is going to be the red there. So I've decided to bring up my red first. That edge will then still be a good edge. So we have 1. I have blue in position. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to make that a bad edge for the moment. That's 2 moves. I'm then going to bring the green around, ready to slot in. That's 3. But before I do it, I'm going to go 4, so that when I flip the green in 5, I have this one left over here for 6 and up for 7. You should be solving the cross in between 6 to 8 moves, so that one is in 7. And then before I go on, I will realign my centers and start F2L. For this next one, I'm lucky to have one in position already. The red is underneath, my green is here, and my orange is here. So first thing I'm going to do is bring up the orange. That's 1 move. Then I'm going to plan to slot the green in over here. That's 2 moves. But before I bring the green up, I'm going to put that bad edge in the same face. That's 3 moves. 4, 5, 6. In this one, I have a blue here, which could go there. I have an orange, which would go there if the blue went there. I have a red at the bottom, and my green is flipped. So what am I going to do here? Well, I'm going to move the blue up first. Then I'm going to bring my red up. So now I have 2. Then I'm going to go around here, 3 moves, get my orange in place, that's 4, and then move the green around, that's 5, and up for 6. Now, with this example, I have the green in place, I have a red, an orange, and a blue flipped. Now, I'm thinking I'd like to get these 2 around here and just put them into position, but I still have that bad edge to deal with. So I think before I move the orange and the red around, I'm going to do 1 move there to get that to be a good edge. Then 2 moves to here, 3, 4, and I know that blue is down the bottom. 5, and up for 6. So now it's over to you. Scrounge up your cube any way you like, and then pick out your edges and see can you get them to work in 6 to 8 moves.